Okay, everyone, welcome to the installation guide part of the course. Funny enough, sometimes just simple installation of softwares can act as the biggest barrier to just coding in R and using GitHub for collaborative coding. But we're going to tackle that together today to get us up and running for the rest of the course. So I have two things open. I have the homepage of our SDG analytics in our website. I'll navigate over to the installation guide. And if everything went smoothly with installing R in RStudio and creating a GitHub account, you should be ready for this video. So if you install R in RStudio correctly, when you go to your Launchpad or wherever your applications are, maybe on a Windows machine, you should have R in RStudio. If you created your GitHub account, you should have something that looks like this. You might not have all the information and repositories yet. It might be completely new, but it should be an account linked to your name with your email that you can reference like this. It should be github.com/ the username that you chose in the step above. So now we're going to check for install Git and link RStudio and GitHub. So the first thing that we'll do is open up RStudio. And here we are. And when you first open up RStudio on your Mac, you might get prompted to install command line tools. And I would highly recommend that you hit accept and install those tools. It's what we'll need to use Git in the future. But let's check if you have Git. If you don't get prompted right away, let's follow this step. So in RStudio, in the terminal, Mac users will run the following command, which Git, and Windows users will run where Git. So two slightly different commands based on the machine that you're on. So we'll go over, and sometimes it catches a lot of students, the difference between the console and the terminal right away. So we're doing this in the terminal. And since I'm on a Mac, I'm going to type which Git, and I get this output, user bin Git. So I'm just checking to make sure I have Git installed on my machine. And that's the output we're hoping for. It's saying where Git is on my machine. If you don't get an output that looks a little bit like this, instead if you get no response at all or an error, you can follow these links to install Xcode or install Git based on whether you're on Mac or on Windows. Oftentimes we'll have some trouble on students' computers and older versions of Git. So that might be something that we'll work through in office hours or in a scheduled appointment if you're running into some trouble there. Assuming that works like it does on my shared screen here, and we type in which Git, and we get this output, let's continue with the next steps. So here's where we'll start connecting RStudio and Git based on our username and email. So let's start by copying just the first part of this git config global user.name. And in our terminal, go ahead and paste that. And with a space in quotes, we'll type our GitHub username. Mine is Connor Flynn. You'll put yours here in the quotes. We'll hit enter. We don't expect any response from here. We just hit enter and it gives us a new line. And we'll do the same thing with email. We'll copy the first part of that, git config global user.email. We'll go into the terminal and we'll paste it right there. And this time, not in quotes, we'll just type the email associated with our GitHub account. So whatever email you chose to use with your GitHub account, mine is connor.flynn@chaminade.edu. Perfect, and we'll hit enter again, and again, we'll expect no response. And here we can test and just make sure everything went through right, and that we didn't have any typos with git config list global. So when you put that in the terminal, hit enter, we'll have my username, Connor Flynn, looks good, and my user.email, connor.flynn@chaminade.edu. It's really important that these are correct and without typos because it's how RStudio and Git get connected. So that's all set. So let's keep going down now. And we're going to install a package in order to generate a personal access token. So personal access token is just a way to shortcut always having to put in our username and password every time we're using Git. So that would get really burdensome. So we're gonna make this personal access token. And to do that, we have to install a package, and we actually won't copy and paste this, just because funny enough, the quotes seem to give us some trouble when we copy and paste them into R. So we're just gonna type it. We're gonna go from our terminal into our console. And we're gonna type install.packages, and in parentheses, use this. We'll hit enter. We should get a bunch of red text that looks like this. And then we'll see the downloaded binary packages are in this folder. And that's the output that we hope for, kind of resembled in this picture here. If you don't get an output like this, I would Google search installing use this. There's ways to install directly from GitHub with some code that you can edit here. But I think you all should get a good output from install.packages use this, where the package downloads. So now that we have it installed, we can use it and the function create GitHub token to generate our personal access token. So when I paste that here in the console again, I'll hit enter. It'll actually take us to our browser, or github.com. It might prompt you to sign in and use your password if you're not already signed in. I'm already signed in, so I just go straight to this new personal access token page. We could simply call this my token underscore SDG underscore analytics. This is whatever name you'd like to name this. It's just, again, a placeholder for a username or password. So we won't reference this too much. We'll go ahead and we'll set the expiration date to no expiration. We get a message here that recommends against it, but just for our purposes and research and education, I think we should be all right. So I'll set it to no expiration. We'll scroll all the way down. We won't change anything here. And we'll hit generate token. When we do that, it's really important you see this code here that you won't be able to see again. And here it is, it's this long string of letters and numbers. And we'll copy that. We'll go back to the installation guide. And here's our next bit of code that we should write. Is get cred set. So we'll type this out in our console. Get creds. You'll see it starting to autofill. 2 colons. Get creds underscore set. And we'll leave these parentheses empty and we'll hit enter. And from here, it'll prompt us to paste our password or token. And so we'll hit paste there. We'll hit enter again. And now we've added our personal access token. So the last step in this is a check again. And we'll copy this code directly and put it in the console. We'll use this git sit rep. We hit enter. We'll get kind of all our information. So our username, our password, our email, and where it says personal access token, it should say discovered. And then we're ready to go with personal access tokens. So again, this can be tricky. There's a lot of steps to the installing RStudio and linking our GitHub account. So if you need assistance, please reach out to me, connor.flynn@chaminade.edu, or join one of our office hours with either Victoria or myself, because performing all of these steps here is essential for you doing well in the rest of the course. So please reach out to us if you're having any trouble. Thanks.